Hey there guys, Zach here for Windows Central, and today we're taking a look at the Microsoft Surface table running Windows 10. So getting Windows 10 installed on this thing took around 6 hours in total, but once the installation was complete and all the drivers were up and running, everything works pretty much as expected. I've got touch working, which is actually really quite amazing. I've also got sound working, so I can play music through YouTube or Groove Music in this case. There's also Wi-Fi, which is really quite handy. Bluetooth support, which was a big surprise to me. I can now hook up controllers, for example, and then you can also do a bit of light gaming as well, which is always a nice touch. So why would you want to do this in the first place? Because the Surface Shell is actually pretty cool on its own, and while true, the Surface Shell is 10 years old and it's not really in support by developers anymore. Windows 10 on the other hand does have support with developers, and in addition it also gives you extra functionality such as browsing the web. The original Surface Shell and software didn't have a web browser built in, therefore you couldn't browse the web. As you can see here, I am browsing Windows Central just fine, and there are some issues with the touch. It does work quite well when using just one finger, but when multi-touching and just trying to drag things around, it does lag a little bit. But as you can see here, with one finger it works absolutely fine. Now moving on to the Microsoft Globe app, the added benefit of running Windows 10 of course is I can now install any apps I want, and with the Windows 7 Touch Pack comes the Microsoft Surface Globe app, and this app is kind of like Google Earth. It allows you to take a look at planet Earth and search for locations and whatnot, and it actually runs quite well. Now the lag you see is again due to the touch driver, not performance. This table actually runs really quite well with Windows 10, and we'll touch on that more in just a second. So the Globe app was a Microsoft Surface 2.0 app, I believe, when it first was announced by Microsoft, and then of course it was bundled with the Windows 7 Touch Pack, and it works absolutely fine here on the Microsoft Surface 1.0. I can add locations and whatnot, browse the web, and then of course you've also got the updated Lagoon app, which has AI fish and whatnot. Again, another nice touch. And then using normal universal Windows apps works absolutely fine. As you can see here, I'm checking the weather with the weather app, I'm going through historical weather, checking rainfall and whatnot. Got the apps list. I've also got access to Cortana, which is very nice, although there's no microphone built in. You will have to search with the keyboard, unless you plug in a USB mic of course, if you really want to. We've got a File Explorer, which works much like the File Explorer does on Windows 10, except entirely with touch. And then of course you've got cool things like Netflix, meaning you can now watch things like Doctor Who on your table. Now this is a little bit gimmicky, I admit, but it's still nice to show off to friends, and again, the speakers in the table are really nice. Now you think that's gimmicky, check this out. You can actually play games like GTA San Andreas on the table as well. Of course, touch controls all work. If it's a Windows 10 app, it should have touch controls, and in this case it does, and I'm able to run around San Andreas with my table. But then, since this is the Windows 10 PC, why not plug in an Xbox controller and play on your couch on your table with an Xbox controller? This is really quite amazing. Games like Minecraft perform absolutely fine. If GTA San Andreas works, then of course Minecraft will work as well. Again, more touch control, so you don't actually have to use a controller. A lot of these games, in fact any game you download from the Windows Store will work on the table pretty much. There are some graphical issues which we'll get to in a second for some games, but accessibility wise they work absolutely fine. Now here's an example of one of the games that have graphical issues. I'm not sure what causes this. The game appears to perform well, it's just that there are some graphical issues with textures and whatnot which just appear to make the game look like it doesn't work. It does work, and again performs really quite well however. So why settle for that? Why not just play Xbox One games on your table? With the Xbox app and Windows 10, I can stream my Xbox One to my table and play Xbox One games. Again, this is another gimmick, but it's fantastic nonetheless, and something to show off to friends too. And it works much like you would expect it to. You just launch the game via the streaming app and begin playing it. There's very little input lag depending on your internet connection of course. And there I am. I'm here playing Halo Wars 2 on my Surface table. Absolutely fantastic. Now since this is Windows 10, you obviously get access to a notification center which houses all your notifications, including from your phone, which is actually really quite handy. Then you've got apps like Twitter. Anything that's universal and in the Windows Store actually runs perfectly well on the Surface table. One Calendar is a really great universal app, and as you can see here, if I wanted to, I could download it to my table and begin using it, which is fantastic. And then you've got first-party apps like Photos, which are really quite nice on the Surface table as they make it easy to share pictures with friends and family. Now, I do believe installing Windows 10 on the Surface table makes it much more useful, as the Surface shell that comes with it pre-installed is pretty much useless these days, especially for home users. Installing Windows 10 allows you to install apps, listen to music from your favorite streaming services, watch videos, play games. It turns it into an interactive PC, which is fantastic. Now, you do lose out on some of the unique features that the Surface originally introduced, such as object tracking and even using the device from multiple angles around the screen. With Windows 10, that's not really possible, as the UI is designed to be looked at from one angle, which means somebody sitting at the other end of the table will see everything upside down, and that's a disadvantage and pretty much steps away from exactly what the Surface table originally set out to achieve. And considering there is no app store for the Surface shell where developers can submit Surface table apps and users can download them, there's no point sticking with the Surface shell. So installing Windows 10, although it takes away some of that unique functionality, actually makes the table better. And it's the reason why I bought one. I bought one with the intention of installing Windows 10 on it. And I can honestly say that I am happy I have done so. I have set up a dual boot system, so I haven't actually got rid of the old Windows Vista install. If I really want to, I can go back to it. But I find myself booting into Windows 10 more, if only because of the notifications which come through on my phone and show up on my table. I can also use my table as a media center. I can play music through Groove, I can watch movies on it, I can even stream media, or I can stream my Xbox to the table as well. It turns the table into a hub for your home, and I think that's really quite nice. If you have hue lights, for example, you can download an app called Hetero, which allows me to control my lights from my table, which again is something ridiculous, but actually quite useful when you're sitting around it. So there you have it, guys. That's a quick look at Windows 10 running on a Surface table. Now, I don't think Microsoft are going to be releasing any new Surface tables anytime soon, and if they did, they'd have to do a lot of work to Windows 10 to bring back that unique functionality of being able to use the device from any angle, as well as object tracking. But I honestly think there is a market for these. I don't know how, I don't know when or where, but in the future I would love to be able to sit down at a Windows powered table that's fully supported by its operating system and has a huge developer community that can track objects and can be used by multiple people. I think it would be fantastic. Unfortunately, it isn't here yet. However, this is a kind of teaser or glimpse into what the future may hold for tables and Windows Internet of Things. But in the meantime, thanks so much for watching, and I shall see you in the next one. Bye bye.